Welcome to the Bookish Hour with your hosts, Sarah E. Burr and J.C. Kenney. And we are live. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Bookish Hour. I'm Sarah Burr.
And I am J.C. Kenney. Happy Baby Friday, folks. It's the weekend. Basically, come on. I mean, it's Thursday night. We have a very special guest for you tonight to share a really unique and inspiring feel-good story with you. So, Sarah, I think it's time to get bookish.
Yes, and I always have to laugh, JC. I love your outlook on the weekends that, yes, they do start on Thursday night. Yes. Folks, thank you so much for joining us. We are delighted to be back with you here on the Bookish Hour. Hello to Susan and Farmhouse Reader and VDPL. Good evening, everyone. Thank you so much. Make sure that you are logged into your Google or YouTube account to leave comments and or questions for us during the show. I think you're going to have some questions for us tonight because our guest has as JC mentioned, an incredibly unique experience to share with us, not only through his writing, but just his life itself. We are joined by the very inspirational Nash Hudson. Nash, welcome to the show.
Oh, thank you, guys. I'm so glad to be here with you. Thank you for extending the invitation, too. It's going to be I
am so looking forward to it. And folks, just to let you know, Nash and I were connected at a local authors event. Gosh, I guess was it November?
I think it was early November.
Yeah, time flies. And we got to sit next to each other during the event and got to talking. So I'm really excited to be able to dive in more to your work, Nash, on Undertow, which is if I remember correctly, it's like the first installment of a series that you plan. So we'll of course dive into the work itself and really explore the themes that you tackle in this piece. But as way of introduction for our viewers who are joining us, and we have Shervin and DHB also saying hello, happy Thursday. Shervin says, "So proud of you, Nash." That is what you have accomplished in not only just in life, but in your publishing career is really, really I'm in awe of your social media because of all of the amazing things that you're doing. You've gone on this amazing book tour. You're recording the audiobook for Undertow, which I would love to talk more about. And so we've got a lot of ground to cover. But before we really dive in, by way of introduction, can you just share a little bit about who you are and what, I guess maybe what inspired you to go on this particular journey?
Yeah, so good evening to everyone who's tuning in. My name is Nash. I'm originally from Washington, D.C., born and raised. And then I relocated to Long Island probably about 3 or 4 years ago. And so, I consider Long Island home now. I've been writing for about the past, I guess I've been writing all of my life, but really with a central, a intentional focus on writing for about the past 5 years. And that kind of is what into writing. So 5 years ago, I was working in the cruise industry. I spent 17 years of my life in being and working on cruise ships. It was the thing that I only knew. I always wanted to be a cruise director ever since I was 11, and I did everything I could to get there. The day that I signed for my promotion for that particular position, same exact day, COVID shut down. And I just was completely devastated. I didn't know anything else do. Everything that I knew just kind of just flashed before my eyes, as it did for a lot of people during that time. And so, but the plot twist was, I not only lost, the current job I was working, the dream job I was hoping to get, but I couldn't get home because I was working on a ship that was off the coast of Australia. And so I then was confined to a cabin on board for months on end before I would even see the light of day back of the United States.
Oh my
And it
gosh.
was while I was in that cabin by myself, and I said, I got to do something to keep myself mentally engaged, or I am going to lose it. And that was when I began writing what was then called It Was Just Too Good to Be True. And over time, it has become Undertow, now published as Undertow, because it is a story about surrender and the art of letting go. And I learned that if I was trying to resist what was happening to me in that moment, that I could potentially be missing something so beautiful and so awesome that was always there waiting for me. But the moment that I opened my hands and just gave it to God and just surrendered it over, that was when this entire thing that I didn't even know, I still don't know what I'm doing, was waiting for me. And so here we are. So that's a little bit about me.
With that setup, like you can definitely tell, our audience members can tell that we are going to be in for quite an interesting hour together, because I can't imagine having read about how much you wanted to be a cruise director. I want to go back to like what you said you knew that when you were 11 years old. How does an 11-year-old how do they discover what a cruise director is? How do they want to be a cruise director at that age? And then to have this within your grasp, only to have just the world be taken away in such a dramatic fashion. So it's going to be quite the roller coaster that I think we're going on. So if we can maybe start a little bit at the beginning, Nash, what was it about cruise ships that it was I see this as the place that I want to be, because you were so dedicated to getting there?
Yeah. So when I was 11, my bio mom wound up taking me on a cruise. I had a neighbor who was big into cruising,
Mm-hmm.
and she had gave me an option. She said, you can either go on a cruise with him and his family, or you can wait until the end of the summer and I'll take you on one. And so I elected the latter. And I was so excited about this cruise that I drew a picture of the ship, and she stuck the picture on board, gave it to someone who worked at the guest services desk, and how it ended in the hands of the captain.
Ooh.
The captain and gave me a model of the ship, flag, and card, and it said, whatever you need thank you so much for the picture, acknowledging the picture, and whatever you need from us, just let us know. And I just remembered in that moment, I said, I don't know what this is, but that's what I want to do. I had no idea that was hospitality. I had no idea that was just letting people know that they were seen, that, that they were visible, that they were important. And of course, that translates to so many different things now that I'm in my writing career. But that was the moment that really defined, this is what I want to do. And
oh my gosh.
I just kind of my course to chase that dream.
I have to tell you that and JC knows this because I talk about it all the time, but The Love Boat is one of my favorite TV shows to watch. And I can just picture I can just picture Captain Steubing getting a picture and Julie being you have to do something nice for him and all of this good stuff. So that, what a memory to kind of start your journey on. Oh my gosh, that's so sweet.
But I want to jump in here though to let everybody know who hasn't read the book yet. Undertow, go get it, read it. We'll discuss later, after you've all bought it and read it. But in all seriousness, Nash, it wasn't easy getting from that 11-year-old who wanted to be on a cruise ship to actually realizing that dream. That was not a smooth road at all. Can you talk a little bit about, some of the challenges that you faced getting from that point A to point B?
Yeah. Oh goodness. Yeah. So there were a lot of challenges. I think at the core of it, when going with why did I want to work with it? And a part of it was me. I was trying to run away and escape, just my childhood traumas and the things that I was exposed to. And my dog Phoenix is wanting to come and have a cameo because he's jealous.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Oh,
So, yeah,
Precious.
he's an Australian cattle dog.
That's what Evie is.
I rescued him a couple years ago. Look at he's smiling. Oh my God. He knows what he's on the camera. He is just too much.
Oh my goodness.
But yeah, like I was trying to run away from those things. And so like my first hurdle that I hit, especially when I was in college, was when I was graduating and I didn't have enough money to make it across the finish line. I was 9 weeks away from graduating and I had members of the administration even talking me into simply dropping out and just saying, oh, you can come back, you can do it later. And I just was like, no, like I'm so close. Like I'm not even years away from graduating. I am like weeks away from graduating. I'm not like going to leave. And so that was like one of the first hurdles with like financially just trying to like finish college. But there was also a lot of personal things because I think, you know, when I was around that age too, you know, as many people are in college, you're trying to find out who you are, you're trying to discover yourself, you're trying to kind of know like the deeper meanings behind why of your dispositions with certain things. And so like, you know, after kind of breaking that hurdle of, okay, like I was able to eventually graduate from university. I won't spoil it. It's all in the book. But I was able to get out of university, but then I signed my first cruise ship contract 2 months before I graduated. And it would be 17 months before I would actually join the
Wow.
oh, holy smokes.
Imagine you interview for a job, you get the job, and then you are being told like you have to wait until there's a deployment opening, you're waiting until a deployment opening, you're waiting until a deployment opening, and that was about 17 months. And so I, you know, then of course, in that moment, I was very frustrated because I'm like, this, like, what is this? I was telling people I had a job. People were thinking I was crazy. Like, what is this guy talking about? He's got a job. He said he had a job like 6 months ago. He had said he had a job like 10 months ago. He's nowhere near, you know, paradise where he's working. And so I waited out the process, but as I was waiting out the process, there were some personal changes that happened in my own life to include just realignment of relationships with my biological family, and things just weren't as peaceful and harmonious as I think anyone would have wanted them to be. I was at one point living with just a close friend because I didn't have anywhere to go while I was still waiting for this dream. So despite, you know, my personal life with my bio parents not really existing, having the relationship, things weren't really going well, still holding on to this dream because I'm like, if I let this one thing go, I will literally have nothing to do. So I'm, you know, crashing at a friend's house and they are actually trying to talk me into like on land and like get a car, get your own place. Like this, and I'm like, no, like my dream is to go and work at sea and work on cruise ships. So even when people were trying to help me, they were also trying to talk me into something else that I just knew wasn't for me. Like it just wasn't what I saw for myself when I was a kid. I knew I had to honor that dream that I had when I was 11, just because of how amazing that moment was and how I felt in that moment with that captain. So, so that was another hurdle. Then that was another hurdle. And then eventually, you know, opportunity came back around where I was able to get, you know, informed that there was an opening for me to go to the training site and to begin my first contract, which is kind of where Undertow ends, and my second book or the sequel of Undertow.
Wow. So I really want to dive into this like concept of all of these people who are helping you by telling you to move away from your dream. But first, we've got quite a few comments in the chat. Most of them regarding Phoenix. We've got Cheryl.
He is the real star. I'm telling you, he's the real star.
We've got Cheryl just like putting hearts and like saying,
oh, Cheryl.
We've got DHB just like going crazy for a puppy. Shervon says, "Oh, look at the pooch." And then Susan says, wanted to be a cruise ship director from watching The Love Boat, and ended up in the airline industry. So still was like in that hospitality, that hospitality service. So, and this theme like is something, Nash, that like comes up repeatedly, I think, in your book, because not only do you have your friends that are like, oh, like you should get, you know, a different job, you should get a place that you can live, all of this stuff. But when you were in college, you had these faculty members being like, well, maybe you should give up for right now and come back when, you know, when you have the money to do it. And like nobody was really listening to you for like what you wanted. And I just think there are so many times in our lives when we have to decide between the practical of like keeping a roof over our heads versus this is not what I want to do. I want to do something else. I want to, you know, go fulfill my dream. How did you have, I guess, the guts and the stamina to hold on to that dream? You had mentioned like if you had let it go, it was like the only thing that you had. But was there something else that was like, you know what, like I can't give up on this?
Yeah, I mean, for me, I mean, aside from just like not wanting to have anything to hold on to, it definitely is my faith and my faith in God. I mean, I really believed that when I prayed and sought God about this and pursuing this, that this was for me, and I felt a lot about it. Despite the naysayers, the people who were trying to discourage me, the people who were trying to tell me to give up, you know, oh, just like go do something else, like. You know, why would you even want to leave DC? I mean, just the things that people were saying to me was so like crazy. But when I would just have my time alone with God and I would pray, I really was just so convinced in my faith that this was a path that I was supposed to be on. I had no idea how it was going to end out. Of course, like limited view from my perspective, but like really, it was just holding on to my faith really kept me inspired to really believe what happened.
That, I mean, and you can see like how that comes into play, because especially like when, you know, you're kind of at this moment where, you know, you don't know what you're going to do when it comes to financial aid. You know, you emailed people for assistance, and, you know, you got this like really, some was helpful feedback. Then you had other people that were like really negative about it. I'm like, why are people kicking each other when they're down? Like that part, I was like, I hope you nix those people off of your friends list after the fact. But then you have this moment where, you know, you're speaking with the financial aid advisor, and he's like, I think we can do something to help you. And, you know, it's these moments of like, we're struggling to like hang on for so long, but then something happens and something takes us to something, you know, we're buoyed back up again. We're lifted back up.
It was definitely God just breathing life into that situation. Like, hold on, Nash, I got you. We're gonna do this. I'm like, okay, thank you, God. Okay, I can go another day. So it was definitely kind of like just like those small steps of faith, just like blindly one after another. And it just like, sometimes, you know, when you think about a dream and how it is and how like you can whole thing at once, it will overwhelm you. And I just feel like God just kind of broke it down for me and just gave me these like, take this step, take this next step, take this next step. And it kind of led me into really, you know, embracing the totality of the experience, which is just the full part of it all too.
And you also, though, I don't think you give yourself enough credit, because one thing that I really felt from you throughout all of these experiences is that you still maintained your compassion and your like inherent goodness. I know there are a couple of times where you mentioned like, wow, I'm being really selfish in this moment. But there was, it was when you were interviewing, the first like big interviewing I think it was when you were in Florida. And you were speaking with the penguin guy that he was like dressed in a tuxedo. And
Oh yeah. Oh, that one was in Baltimore. Yeah.
Baltimore. And so, and so guys, just to kind of set the stage for you, Nash is at this hiring event where he's like, it's his first like big interview. He's getting ready to graduate. It's like, you know, for that dream position. And Nash, you can probably tell it a little bit better than I can. So why don't you set the stage for our viewers?
Yeah. So I'm interviewing with a very popular cruise line. They're having a hiring event in Baltimore. I got a rental car. I drove up from my university, and I walk into this hotel ballroom, and I get online, and there's a guy who is dressed in a full-on tuxedo. I mean, like with the penguin tails and everything. And I was like, what was the dress code on the email? Like, I mean, I understood business professional, right? Like, I understood business. I didn't know this was like a red carpet event. I was so confused. And instantly I felt so intimidated and so insecure because, again, like I still didn't know who I was at that point in my life. And I was like, if everyone else shows up like how this guy is dressed, I am definitely out. It's not going to happen. Isn't it? It's like, okay, I should just go home now. As we were kind of in the interview process together and the room started to thin as they were doing the one-on-ones, we got to a moment where it was just he and I. And he leans in and he wanted to have a conversation with me, and I was not wanting to have a conversation with the competition, of course. And I did open up to the conversation. And in that conversation that we began having, I began seeing just how much he's fighting for his dream as much as I was fighting for mine. And he shared how he interviewed with us in New York and he was turned away because there were too many people. And so I realized in that moment, him wearing that suit was so that he would stand out and not be turned away. Did in New York. This is about his dream. And he shared that he recently just, split from his longtime girlfriend at the time. And he had worked in the cruise industry before and he was looking to get back into it. And so it was a moment where I think I was able to kind of see the humanness of his journey and not really seeing it as a competition against me. And then come to find out we were interviewing for completely different operations on board. I was rooting for him. Okay. And he may or may not return in the second book. I don't know.
that moment where
that's beautiful.
Yeah, that moment where, and we have April saying that they love this part of the book.
Hi, April.
The moment where, he's trying to engage you in a conversation, and I just I felt so much of this where it's like, please don't talk to me. Please don't talk to me. Like, I need to be in focus mode. It's like, I don't want to have any distractions. I don't want to get I just don't want to get my focus pulled elsewhere. But then you have this really humanizing conversation. And the thing that I thought was man, this needs to be lesson of the day that's just broadcast on worldwide news right now is that you said a prayer for him when he went to his interview. And I was just if there's this shift in yourself where you're thinking me. And that's that's what we all do all the time. We're always thinking about ourselves and how things are going to affect us. And that's fine because we have families to feed. We have to keep a roof over our head. We have to be concerned about ourselves. I'm not saying that, but the fact that you took a moment to then care about him and his journey, I was just if only we could have this innate sense across everybody in the world right now, or everybody in the US, having that compassion for somebody else who's on a struggle of their own. I just thought that was such a beautiful message that it was so small and I think very subtle in the scene itself because we're obviously invested in you getting going through this interview process and getting your dream job, but just that moment was so, I don't know, it was really touching to me. And I felt that was a big part where people could learn about each other and how to treat other people with kindness.
Oh, thank you for that. Wow. That chapter in particular, it gets a lot when I'm on the road. People are always asking about the penguin. Do you still talk to the penguin? Do you know how the penguin's doing? And when I think of like the grand scheme of the book, like that's probably like one part of the book I just would like at people the way that it has been. And so like hearing the impact that this the book has had on people, it's just so like it's just like wow. Like I mean, I'm just wow.
Yeah, and I mean, you've had this incredible experience of being able to tour with your book, which I definitely want to get into, but we do have some more comments that are popping up that I want to make sure that we get to. Cheryl says, thank you for sharing her cup. And says, you are amazing. Farmhouse Reader said, and this is when you were talking about kind of God's like stepping in and lifting you up and like helping you through all of these challenges, saying that, divine order at work there. We have Phyllis chiming in saying that they're here. And
hi, Yummy. Hi, Yaddy.
Yes. And then Cheryl also agrees that this that section of the book with the penguin was wonderful. So before we start talking about this amazing book tour that you've been on, Nash, we need to like get to like the insane part of this story, which I guess it's kind of queuing up for book 2. But like you get to see you're trapped on this boat. Like how did writing keep you focused and sane and present? How did you turn to writing? How did you discover that that's what you needed to do in order to make it through that ginormous challenge?
Yeah, I think for me, there was always this sort of like subtle sprinkle throughout my life where people would say at times like, oh, wow, you have such a way with words, or wow, you have such a way with words, or wow, you have such a way with words. And so now I'm stuck in the and I mean like from like from high school through college and then even professionally, people would say, oh wow, the way you put that, the way you handled that. And so I was sitting there, I'm stuck in this cabin, and like at the time I don't think we were getting news channels on our TVs. I think there were just like 3 movies that were playing on repeat.
Oh my God.
And so I was just like, what else can I do? And I journal, every day. And so, well, what if I started talking about being in the cruise industry, my experience then? And that was when I started writing. It was just good to be true. And originally it was just supposed to be one book. This wasn't supposed to be a series. This wasn't supposed to be a drawn out thing. But I felt that that being in that moment, I was so frustrated and angry, and I mean, rightfully so, with everything that was going on. It definitely translated into my writing, and I didn't want that to be the initial sort of that readers would have of my story, because my experiences in the cruise industry were not all bad. By traveling around the world and meeting different people and being with different cultures and learning different languages and getting promotions and all of those things were not bad. And so I wanted readers to have an objective point of view. And so that's when I started getting focused and getting to work. So I started building out the story a little bit. And every day when I woke up, I knew I had to write. So the best thing that I did was actually tell my immediate friends and family who were so concerned and worried about being stuck and stranded over there. I was like, hey guys, I think I'm going to start writing a book. And they began checking in on me every day and said, how is your writing today? And so I knew that when I got up, I had to write, not just for myself and sanity and keep myself focused, but I wanted to have something to report to friends. That is what kind of helped me focus. So my friends who walked through that with me, I mean, especially, my brother Jeremy, I mean, I just remembered there were multiple times what you're writing today. And that is what really kept me going. I want to have something to share when asked me about how my writing. That's how the focus kind of just organically.
Oh, wow.
So that is amazing. And I just want to echo what Sarah says. I just can't imagine the challenge mentally and emotionally being cooped up for that long of a time. I mean, I think in general, those of us, I've been fortunate enough to I've gotten to go on 2 Caribbean cruises, loved them both. But they were both, I was on the boat for a week, got off, went back home and lived my life, never had to worry about, what would happen if I was stuck someplace. And so, can you talk a little bit about, because you have mentioned a number of different times, just in the chat so far, about kind of friendship, kindness. There is really a thread that you shared this evening about the goodness of others and recognizing that. And can you talk a little bit about how that plays out not only throughout the book, but then also throughout your life now up to this point in 2025?
Yeah, I think for me, I'm always my default is to strive to at least be the best in someone else. There was even an incident recently where I was in a group setting and someone had made a comment about a mistake that someone had made, and literally was like showing the mistake and pointing it out and like going on about what the mistake was. And someone in the group had alluded to the fact that, someone fired for this. Like, this is just egregious. And I spoke up and I said, well, like, it was a very human mistake. And I think, like, we don't know what could have been happening. That person got, divorce papers today, or they could have just got, found out that their house was getting foreclosed on. Like, everyone is carrying weights, burdens, and are going through battles that we have no idea what it is. And while I do think, when someone, over time shows you the patterns of who they are, that's, using wisdom to not let someone take advantage of you. But what we're talking about here is that just initial stranger contact, that goodness I think it just stems from just my childhood. Growing up, I have a history of abandonment. And so I just, because I was always that person who was sometimes forgotten, sometimes not seen, I think my lens and my perspective is always looking at seeing and ensuring like others feel that they're seen and inspired and encouraged. Even if it's just a subtle thing, which is saying good morning to someone who's a stranger. I mean, like, that costs me nothing. Like, I'm not anything. Whether that person responds back, that's on them. That's not on me. But I tried my best to just share light and to share hope. And I think that also just stems, to my faith as well, just in God, just wanting to be a representative of light to others. I think recently, I mean, it's been kind of going viral on TikTok. Felicia Rashad was on The Breakfast Club, and she was being asked, like, how do you feel, like, with your career and you're this and you're that? And her response was just so amazing. She said, light is not heavy. Carry light. That was all she said. And I'm like, that's so true. Like, just carry light. And for me, that's, what I strive to do, the light of love, the light of God, the light of hope, the light of just understanding that we all are living in just some very, very difficult and crazy times. And I think the last thing that we need is to just, not kindness with. Try to do it as much as I can. I'm just as human as anyone else, because on a lack of sleep and no coffee, I might not be. But yeah, it is something I do try to, have as something that just flows from my heart.
I think that that was very eloquently put. And
Yes.
Cheryl says very positive words. Keep shining. And we have Michael saying Nash has the light of an artist. So you are carrying that light with you. And I your comment about just like simply saying good morning to strangers. Nash, I don't know about you, but like when I am walking around, if I ever go into New York City, I'm always like very like, I keep my head down. I like get from point A to point B.
New York is different.
It's a little bit different. But then there are moments where like I'm standing on like waiting to cross the street and there's somebody who's next to me. And I'm like, wow, I love her coat. Or like, oh my gosh, I love that bag. And if you just say that to the person, it literally like changes their whole appear. Like they stand up straighter, they like have a little perk in their step, and it's like the amount of I guess just the amount of light that you can bring to somebody just by acknowledging them. Not even like you don't have to go like get into an in-depth conversation. But I've always like felt or it's always been hard for me to like say those things to people because like I often feel that we're in this world where it's like, don't talk to each other, like leave everybody alone. Yeah. But then when people do say it, it's like, it's such a great feeling. And so I just think that that's just that message of carrying light and bringing it forward to people is really, really special. And goodness knows that we need it. More than ever right now. And we've got a lot of people in the chat saying, an amazing young man, amazing from Nita Sparkle. Jasmine says, very inspiring, keep shining. Stephanie Salas says he carries the light wherever he goes and whoever he comes into contact with. So you've got a lot of great cheerleaders that are in your corner. And I told you time was, or actually JC told us that time was going to fly by because we are like way over into our like last like half hour together. So before we kind of begin like our wind down for the evening, Nash, tell us about this book tour that you've been on. And how did it come about, number one? And where have you been? What are some of the amazing things that have happened along the way? And any recommendations for people when they are traveling, where they should go if they're looking to be bookish?
Okay, yeah. So I'm telling you, this whole journey has been nothing but a faith walk. In the same way it was me getting across that finish line with graduation, so is this book tour. I just remembered about a year ago in March, I was finishing up a writing retreat in St. Croix, and I was sitting on the beach, and I was just talking with God, and I just heard God whisper in my heart, we can go around the world if we want. And I was very resistant to that because I had travel anxiety at the time still because I got ended in another country with months on end. And so I was like, I don't know about that. And it literally, I had a vision board and I kind of broke up like sort of, I think the way my publisher broke it down for me was poem. So P standing for publicity, O standing for online presence, E for events, and M is for multimedia things. So kind of broke up all the things that I wanted to do in those 4 quadrants. So multimedia, like I want to do an audiobook, I want to do the book trailer, the events, that's where the book tour came in. And it started with me walking in a Barnes & Noble in a t-shirt and jeans, asking to speak to the manager. And then I said, do you guys do book signings for local authors? He says, yes. And I said, oh. And then I said, what's the process of like, doing one? And she said, oh, is this for someone or is this for you? And I said, oh, it's for me. And she said, oh, what's the name of your book? And she immediately goes behind the counter. She looks up the book. She sees it's available. And then she gives me the contract and she's like, okay, like this date work for you. And that was the beginning of my book tour. So that was July 6th. April 26th, actually later this month, we'll be celebrating this book being in print for 1 year. And nice. From there, it literally just went from there. And then the church, the Journey, they were doing a women's book club. And they said, well, would you be willing to come and share with us about your book? And I was like, okay, cool. And then the next month, I was supposed to do a book signing in DC. And then the venue where I was going to do wasn't going to be ready. And it was delayed. It wasn't going to open until October. So my really good friend, Wen, he owns a fish shop, and I came down there and did a book signing in his fish shop, and it went so well with the waves and water came up undertow.
Oh my goodness.
And then I got a call from a library on Block Island in Rhode Island. They asked if I would come and do a reading, and then so I said yes, and then then I went there. And then there was a local event happening in Patchogue here on Long Island, and I said yes, and then I went there. And then there was another one on Long Island, and I said yes, and I went there. And then heard about Word on the Street Festival in Toronto, and I said yes there. And then I heard about the Miami Book Fair, which is a pretty big one in the country. And I applied to be one of the authors on Writers Row, and they only accepted 36 author applications from across.
Oh,
I did
wow.
there. And so I was there for 3 days
Nice.
at the Miami Book Fair with Undertow. We sold really well. And then I went to other places too. I think I was in Newark, New Jersey. Actually, the weekend as the Newark Poetry Festival, where Nikki Giovanni actually made one of her last public appearances before she passed. So that was just like a cool thing to be in. And then most recently, I went to London for the London Book Fair over in the United Kingdom. So going to Toronto was completely incredible because I got to meet other authors in that space while I was there. I got to actually share my book with the mayor of Toronto. I
Oh,
mean, like
wow.
chances of that happening was just such a godronic moment. And then before I went to London, I was in Phoenix and I was at the International Impact Book Awards. It won a book award for Christian nonfiction, and so I was there for
Oh,
that
wow. That's awesome.
gala. And then after that, then I went to London, and it was really like I heard about London when I was in Miami. There were a lot of authors talking about it, and I was like, oh, there's no way. Like the logistics, way that I was going to have to get, like the flight, the hotel, like I mean, just all the logistics that needed to be in place. It just I would just make sense and have it one day. And I was in prayer in my journal. It was like in December, and God just was very clear, like you're going to the London Book Fair, and it's going to be from and it's going to be in in 2025, and it all just came together. And then I went there, and when I tell you, I had one of the most amazing experiences of my publishing career. I mean, I was having meetings with publishers and with agents and with screenwriters and with movie producers and so many things. There are so
Oh,
many things
wow.
that are kind of behind the scenes that I can't talk about publicly yet. But there's just so much just that I was exposed to there, and being able to share the book with UK readers.
Mm.
And while they're in the UK, I mean, there were people who knew the book and knew me. And I'm like, how do you know about this book? Like, this book is not even in print over here. Oh, we have Amazon. We have the Kindle. I'm like, okay, that's right. Thank God for technology. So, yeah, like if you're looking to be bookish, I recommend the Miami Book Fair is always a good one. The Brooklyn Book Festival is always good. Word on the Street in Toronto is always a great time. But the number one book event in the United States is happening actually in a couple weeks in Los Angeles, the Los Angeles Times Festival of Books. And it will be celebrating its 30th year. And I will be there with Undertow for the 2-day festival. And
All
I'm
right.
Nice.
so excited to be there, to sell my book and to meet other readers who are ready to just embrace the story of surrender. And it has been a complete faith journey because I tell you, the day that this book came out, none of those dates, none of those venues, none of those locations, none of those anythings were open. And I really just thank Barnes and Noble, especially, who took a really big. I mean, who walks into a bookstore and says, "Can I do a book signing here?" And they did, and then the word started getting around, and then I was able to go to other Barnes and Nobles here on Long Island, out in Bridgehampton, at Lake Grove, Riverhead. I'll be at the one in Huntington, the one that just opened in Huntington very soon as well. So I'm just excited that I've been able to share this experience with so many people, and it's spurred into now me getting calls for public speaking. And so I'll be
Oh,
having my
yeah.
first public speaking engagement next month in South Carolina. So
Wow.
if you're in the greater Greenville area, I'll be seeing you in a couple weeks, and sharing the story of surrender and the art of letting go with people just in a different capacity now. So, and then I recorded the audiobook too. I mean, it has been really just an amazing, amazing experience.
And I want to point out to our any authors who are watching this, because you just heard Nash talk about all of these amazing places that he went to. He did book signings, did book events at. And Nash, this was something you did this yourself. It wasn't
Yeah.
like something that was handed to you by a publicist or a
No,
publisher or something along those
no.
lines. You made that happen. And I think a lot of authors, myself included, we like it's hard to get those in-person engagements and get those in-person events. So the fact that you were able to go in and make these connections, build this network, that's something that you should teach, because it's a skill, and it's something that I think that we as authors need to know, that like nobody is going to come to you with these opportunities. You have to go out there and get them yourself.
Yeah. Yeah, and to be able to have the success Undertow has had as a debuting author, I mean, I really just can't even put this into words. And it's really the readers of this book who have bought the book, who have talked about the book, who have shared the book, who have gone to the bookstores to buy the book. I mean, really, the readers have come behind this story in ways that has really helped opened so many doors for where we could go with this book. Yeah, there was no agent involved, there was no publicist involved, there was no publisher involved. It was just me literally on Google, what are the book fairs happening in the world? And I literally looked one by one, and I put a couple on a prayer list and prayed over them. And the ones where I felt God was telling me to go to, that was where I pursued, and it always just worked out. So, yeah.
Your journey is so amazing, and I can't keep up with all the comments that we're getting in the chat by how inspiring and amazing you are. I did see we have Jeremy popping in saying how awesome that and such an inspiration. Susan saying that she can't wait to read Undertow. Cheryl says can't wait for the audiobook. Shervan calls you a boss. April says very impressive. Shervan also says a paid course would be great. And okay. Cheryl echoes that you have the guts to get out there and make it happen, and that they can relate. So you have clearly you're kind of preaching a message that I think a lot of people need to hear at this time, Nash. So as we kind of enter our wind down here at the Bookish Hour, what are some you've already talked about carrying the light with you. What are some ways that people can make it through their day not without there's a lot going on in the world. We don't get political a lot here at the Bookish Hour, but there's a lot going on in the world that isn't so positive. What are some recommendations that you can give our viewers to keep up the hope, to keep the belief in good prevailing, and just not feeling like completely terrified about their day-to-day life being under siege?
I'm just going to read something very quickly from Undertow that speaks just to this very thing. It's so simple. It's the prayer for serenity. And it just simply says, God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom. A few deep breaths, meditating on that, understanding that, we can't control everything that's happening out in the world, but amid the chaos that is in the world, there is a hope, there is a peace that we have inside of our heart. And I know that is what's carrying me, even in these times in like the amount of stress that that's like in my life, even right now, like I'm in the process of working. I'm on tour right now. I've got so many things pulling at me. I'm in the studio finishing up the audiobook. I'm working on the second book. We've got some talks underway with some other multimedia deals that are going. I'm getting ready to go to LA. And I lean into that serenity prayer. And I'm like, what can I do right now that's going to best serve me? And that's what I would encourage someone to do. It's okay to unplug from social media. It's okay to cut your phone off at a certain time in the night. It's okay to not choose to watch the news. It's okay to enjoy HGTV with a cup of tea, and that's what I do. I mean, just simply not ignoring the realities. We already know that, but focusing on those realities, it's not going to make your day or your life any better. So why not just take the moment to just enjoy and create a little peace and lean into that serenity prayer.
I love that idea of creating peace, but also that really important line of having the courage to change what we can. And that's one thing that I just encourage our viewers to know, that we all have the ability to do something positive. And so I hope that you all that are watching will definitely leave this conversation feeling that inspiration, that lightness, that it's going to be okay, with a few deep breaths. It's going to be okay.
And Nash, I just want to say that from one author to another, I can't emphasize enough from my perspective, and I'm pretty sure Sarah's going to agree with me here, that everything that you have gone through to get you to this point, that you are reaping all of these accolades and you have all of this amazing success, buddy, you earned it. You put the work in. You had the guts to tell your story, and it's inspiring. It gives writers like Sarah and I hope. It gives our viewers hope. So good on you. This is fantastic, and sometime in the future, after the second book has come out, if you haven't forgotten us, we'd always love to have you come back.
No, I would love to come back. No, I won't forget you guys. And I think too, for if there's any writers or authors who are tuning in, there is a space for you in this industry. Please don't let people tell you that, because you don't fit this or you don't that. I mean, we're talking about the successes, but we haven't talked about the rejections that have come along the way. It comes with the territory, because you're courting acceptance and rejection in the same measures. But for me, especially like as a guy who is writing faith-based memoir series, like this doesn't exist in the publishing world. And so like people kept telling me like, oh, well, we've never had typically you don't write more than one memoir. You write one memoir and then you try to write a fiction novel and it doesn't sell. So why are you trying to write more than one memoir? I mean, I've had people tell me that. Why are you telling? Like, why can't you just share the story? Like, there isn't a space for you. But based off the success of Undertow, I have realized there is a space. And so, if you are on that publishing journey, please just don't give up. Do not give up.
I could not agree more. And
yes.
A great book about not giving up is Undertow, which is available at your favorite bookish retailer. We also have Jeremy making a comment about the fact that having a four-legged rescue on your lap also, brings about that peace. Jeremy, I would say that they could even be three-legged because my parents, they had a three-legged dog for a long time.
Aww.
And so they any type of animal is going to be calming and get us through what we need to get through. And Cheryl is echoing never surrender, never give up. What a great way to go into the weekend, you guys. Like what a lovely way to I do feel a little bit lighter, feel a little bit more hopeful. So Nash, thank you so much for being here and sharing your journey, your story with us, your motivations, your inspirations. We really, really appreciate you taking the time to be here with us. I know that you're very, very busy. So it was a fabulous conversation. But before we do say goodbye to all of our wonderful viewers who are here, we want to give people recommendations. So beyond Undertow, what books would you recommend people check out? Any movies that you've seen lately, TV shows, podcasts, audiobooks, anything entertainment-wise that we can veg out to and find that little slice of peace?
Yes. So I recently began reading, I think it's been out for a while. It's called The Book of Boundaries, Set Limits That Will Set You Free by Melissa Urban, who is the co-founder of 30. It is a very in-your-face about really creating the space that you need to have for your peace that we're talking about. And so it leans into different techniques on like how to do this in difficult situations and easy situations. I'm really enjoying it. So the Book of Boundaries is one that I'm reading. I'm also reading, because as an author, you're always reading more than one book at one time. I'm also reading They Both Die at the End. I just picked that one up recently. And it's a fiction book, and I sometimes writing nonfiction, I need to get a little bit into worlds to kind of like help decompress from it. But it's actually a story about two people who are dying at the same time, and it's their last day on Earth, and they're exploring and trying to figure out what they're going to do the last day. Or like that's been really good. TV is probably really bad for me because I don't watch a lot of it.
But you do HGTV. What on HGTV do you watch?
HGTV. I love Caribbean life.
Oh yeah.
Because like online, I'm always like all about Caribbean life. I did though start streaming because her birthday just passed, and I kind of was just like, oh, I don't think I ever watched that series. But Nat Geo did a series on the life of Aretha Franklin.
Oh.
And I think Cynthia Erivo plays Aretha Franklin.
Oh, wow. Cool.
So I think I'm on like the second or third episode. I think it's like a 7-episode series. So I've just begun getting a little streaming TV into that. So that one I've been really enjoying. And audiobooks. I just finished reading, or just finished listening to Single, Married, Engaged, and Dating by Ben Stewart. So that's all about relationships. So so that's kind of what I've been creatively leaning into lately.
That's a really nice gambit of selections for us to choose from. JC, you've been on your vacation this week. Got any good recommendations for us that have been good beach reads?
I do. First, I've got a beach listen. Michael Franti and Spearhead has a brand new album out called Welcome to the Family. I love Michael Franti and Spearhead. His music would totally fit into tonight's conversation. It's very much uplifting and powerful and a lot of fun. So if you haven't listened to Michael Franti and Spearhead before, you need to change that. After you go buy Nash's book, then you need to go get yourself some Michael Franti and Spearhead, and you can thank me later. As far as what I have been reading, just finally finished, and I apologize for it taking so long, Ravaged Rain, a book by Sarah E. Burr. I think.
I'm like, that sounds familiar.
Yeah.
I was like, I think I wrote a book with that title.
Yeah. It's I think book 8 in Sarah. For those of you who don't know, Sarah wrote a wonderful fantasy amateur sleuth court of mystery series, and Ravaged Rain is book I think 8 in the series. I've lost count.
I don't even know.
Anyway, it was fabulous. It was great. Had a real jaw-dropping twist at the end that I actually had to text Sarah about. Said I did not expect that, so that was fantastic. I'm also a fan of cozy mysteries that go back in time. So, An Active Foul Play by T.E. Kinsey. It is, I think, book 10. I'm not sure.
Is that the Lady Hardcastle? Oh yes. Oh good. I'm glad.
Those are delightful and fun, and so that's what I've been reading. And on vacation, it's funny. My wife Nancy and I always joke that when we're on vacation, just having a little downtime in front of the TV, it's not a vacation without Nathan Fillion. And so we're watching a little bit of Castle and a little bit of The Rookie. So that's
too funny.
So, so I don't know. It just kind of works out that way. So, what about you, Sarah?
So my poolside read so JC's on vacation this week. I was on vacation last week, and my poolside reading was Pros Don't, which is book 4 in the Fall in Love series by Leah Dobrinska. You guys know how much I love Leah, and I love this series. There's something I always think that when I read a book and I want to write one like it, that's like truly a book that I love. And every time I read one of Leah's books, I am just like, oh gosh, I want to write a rom-com so badly. This one was about a golfer who falls in love with his golfing coach. And it was so good. I absolutely loved it. For a movie recommendation, we watched, if you are into creepy horror detective fantasy, weird stuff going on, we watched Longlegs on the plane. Definitely had to stop myself from screaming out loud at certain points. Had a lot of jump scares where I was just like trying not to like scream on a plane because that would definitely cause some issues. But then we also watched, I have to look at the title because it's kind of long. The Unbearable Weight of Massive Talent, which is it's Nicolas Cage playing himself, and he gets hired to go to a party that Pedro Pascal is hosting, but Pedro Pascal is like playing some like Spanish billionaire. And I don't know what I thought the movie was going to be, but oh my goodness, it was so fun. It was so unique. It was just what I needed for like an adventure plane movie. So I highly recommend that one. And then TV wise, I think I mentioned this last time, but for true crime fans, I Met My Murderer Online is a fun, well, not fun, but it's a nice like 30-minute like series that you can watch, goes by really quickly. And it's just people who were chatting with somebody online and it turned out that they were going to kill him. So it's really makes you rethink your social media activity. So with that said, Nash, where can people find you online? How can they stay connected?
Well, you can find me not wanting to murder anyone. I am on Instagram at Nash Hud. My website, of course, is nashhudson.com. I'm on TikTok and YouTube at Nash Huds. And those are pretty much the main channels that I use.
Awesome.
Social media. You can find, the podcast on Amazon Music and Spotify. Just type Nash Hudson in and everything will come up.
And what is the name of the podcast again?
The podcast it's the URC space, which has been on an extended hiatus in light of recent touring and book writing and audiobook recording events. But it will be returning at some point very soon.
Okay.
And I will say, folks, as someone who does follow Nash online, if you're looking for your inspiration of like trying to get across the finish line for something or just trying to like, check off a single task on your to-do list, you want to read Nash's threads. His posts are always really very, very uplifting. So I highly recommend if you need some light on your timelines, that this is your guy. We've got, oh my goodness, you guys, I'm so sorry. I have not been keeping up very well with our chat this evening. DHB said there's always a good place for a story. VDPL said Nash is making it happen, and the Bookish Hour is a great platform. Thank you so much. That is lovely to hear. Jeremy saying, what an inspiration, brother. And this one, I apologize. I'm going to butcher your screen name. Vivi 1977 says, so proud of you, Nash. This is awesome. And then Jeremy said, great transition about my murdering online to social media. Thank you, Jeremy. I was like, as it was happening, I was like, oh my gosh, I can't believe I just pulled this off. So that's what happens when it's live TV for you. These organic moments happen. Nash, this was absolutely wonderful. Thank you so much for being here with us this evening. It was absolutely wonderful chatting with you, hearing about your story. As JC said, you are welcome back here anytime. We can't wait to hear more about this incredible journey called life that you are on and that you are making the most out of, which is again very, very inspiring.
Thank you guys so much. It was so much fun. I can't believe the time flew by so quickly.
I know we told you. And for our wonderful viewers who were here, we really, really appreciate you all. We love reading your comments, even if we missed them. We really, really appreciate you being here. We have these shows all the time. And so feel free to head to our website to sign up for episode reminders, or you can just subscribe and follow us on YouTube. We'll always pop into your feed with something fun and exciting to chat about. We will be back with some new shows next week. You can check out our calendar at itsbookishtime.com. And until we see you all again, stay bookish, everybody. Have a great evening. Bye-bye.